on. Sorry.
I was about to say, it could be more specific, but.
Are we on focus right now? So we're talking about the focus right now? Is that what we're on?
Yes.
So yeah, so just think about where we are in our stage of life with our project, and help me remember, but like it seemed like we're really we're getting to the point where we're settling on our strategies. We've been clarifying our purpose and our outcomes, and now we want to solidify our strategies and get into working committees. But correct me if that's wrong, because we may have advanced past that.
I think we're doing, method strategies and new committees. Yep. I see Caleb in the chat. I think the focus should be really cement or get close to finalizing what we need to do in order to have reliable sources and a safe environment. Please help me wordsmith that. Anyone. I really don't know how to put words.
Let's break those down. Reliable sources, meaning what? Would this be like the sources that we provide, resources we provide to other people? Or what do we mean by sources? And then we'll talk about the other one.
Caleb. Sorry, I was just gonna ask Caleb, what were you meaning by that? Sources by us would be the best. So finalizing resources. Okay. All right. Does anybody else have anything that you think we should focus on? We will move into, here we go. Oh, more Caleb. Okay. We would need to find those through researching and getting feedback from partnerships. And he will be right back. Okay.
And I want to talk about the safe environment part too. I want to go on that one because I think that's really important. Are we, when you say that, is it like we provide a safe environment for any of the things that we do in our project? Like if we're going to go and do like curriculum or training, we provide a safe environment. Or if we do a simulation, we provide a safe environment. Or are we saying we're going to teach people how or get the message out that how to create safe environments, how people can create safer environments for themselves, maybe as a skill?
I like the topic, but I think that would be more in a later discussion. But it's a good topic. Keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, and others. Please keep that in mind. What Adam was saying. Do we want to create one? Do we want them to create it for themselves? So on. All right. So with this focus, why does it matter?
We can't grind if we don't make progress and finalize our resources.
I like it. So we can't move forward if we don't. I can't think of a good way to say it. The only thing I was thinking is we can't move forward if we don't move forward. You're good, Ria. I just saw the chat. Oh,
I was just gonna say that maybe we can add something about, like, in the past few meetings, I feel like we tend to go in circles a lot of the time. So we can say, like, we can't move forward if we keep going in circles and not make progress.
Okay. I spelled that correctly. It will help us gain traction. Sorry, allergies are kicking my butt. It will help us gain traction. Awesome. Anything else? All right, then. What does meaningful progress look like for today? I think Adam kind of brought it up earlier when he was asking a clarifying question, but I think like committees, knowing what committees need to do, that's a good one, but please keep building on. What else do you guys think? Look at Adam's message in the chat. Finalizing methods. Sorry, I'm a bad speller. Finalizing methods. Getting into finalizing committees.
Good.
Not finalizing, but
Advancing. We're, I like the word advance because we have to advance significantly. You guys will worry about more about finalizing later, but right now we're gonna advance things. And Caleb's point too was for him, and I agree with this, having research, looking up and researching reliable resources, or at least a plan to do so. Looking up and finding and sharing great resources, you could probably say.
Yep. Awesome. So with this, keep that in mind through the whole meeting, and I will stop. I will stop screen sharing. And
yeah, I think this is the perfect segue into kind of our next activity. So kind of based on, I think I saw it in the chat as well, talking about finalizing a method or finalizing committees finalizing the method will help build committees and stuff. And based on our kind of conversation from Sunday regarding like factors and stuff that we wanted in the project, you can see this on Miro too. But I kind of organized all the things that were kind of said on Sunday into 3 categories, like physical features that we wanted or that could be possibly beneficial, and then some criteria that we kind of wanted from our method based on whatever it is, and then some needs that we needed from our method. So you can kind of see this on Miro if you want to kind of help keep this in mind when we do these activities. So it's under the frame that's called features. So go ahead and check that out. Go to that because it's going to help you a lot. But what we're going to do is break out into breakout rooms. And we want to just spend a little bit of time based on our conversation on Sunday and like the graphics on Miro, kind of brainstorming possible method ideas that could potentially address our purpose statement and kind of falls in line with the criteria that we set on Sunday. So that's kind of the activity that we wanted, just as many ideas, as detailed as possible to kind of help generate ideas. That way we can potentially look into finalizing the method sometime very soon. So are there any questions before we break you guys up into breakout rooms?
I want to make sure everybody's clear on what will happen in the breakout rooms. So what do you want them to come back with from breakout?
Yeah, so coming back from breakout rooms, just a list or however
You froze.
you want to organize it of possible methods as around.
Sorry, Ria, could you maybe send that in the chat? You kind of broke up a little bit.
Oh yeah, sure. Sorry about that. I think my Wi-Fi is breaking up a little bit. So
No worries at all. But this is great, guys. This is clarity, ask the questions if you're not clear on what's being asked of you so that your time is well spent. And push back if you don't think it's a good use of time. But have an idea. Don't just push back. Have a better idea.
All right. If there are
And real quick, yeah, sorry. What do you use? Like, what would be a really good thing to know before you come up with methods? Yeah. In order to answer the question, what methods should we use? You need to know what?
What outcomes you want?
That's exactly right. What outcomes do we want? And so look at your outcomes, and then as a group, say, okay, what methods can we use? What things would produce these outcomes? And then once you generate a list, then some of those ideas will be better than others, but don't worry about that at first. Let ideas flow. All right, good.
Awesome. So if there's no questions, I will send you guys into your breakout rooms, and I will send what Ria put in the chat into the chat for the breakout rooms. So I will see you guys in a few. Please keep track of your ideas somewhere that you can screen share. That would be great. Okay, see you in a few.
Hey, Leah, it's Adam. I'm just, everybody else is in breakout. So will you message Kate to put you in a breakout room? Or I can do that right now. I'll message them right now. And what they're doing is they're discussing a list of methods for the project. So you're going to look at your outcomes and then go, all right, what methods? And they're brainstorming as a group. Cool.
Welcome back, everybody. Oh, I'm sideways. No, I'm not. Oh, sorry. How were you guys' breakout rooms? Got a double thumbs up from Maria. I've got some from Leah. That rhymed. That was fun. I got some from Ashlyn. That's great to see. I like that you guys had a good time. So with our brainstorming, we definitely want to share and see what people were on the same page. If we were on the same page, that'll be fun. So if you guys would like to share, because I have to find where my document went.
I think we should go ahead and take a quick break and then we'll
Okay.
come back for that discussion.
Okay, awesome. So 5 minutes and then we'll be back. start heading back. If you're not, I like to see you guys. That sounded weird. Sorry. I'm just like, I see like 5 people because they saw that I turned my camera on, and that's what I was trying to get at, but I'm not really good with words coming out of my mouth. In my mind, that's perfectly fine. Sorry, I have a lot of energy right now. Which is good to an extent. How are you guys doing? Because we're gonna go into a fun little game. I'm really excited.
Adam, I saw you like 4 times over spring break. It was like 3. Riding your unicycle over by like, I think it was Utica. I don't know where I was. I was just driving around looking at houses with my mom, and I saw you like twice, like in the same day. So I was like, "That's Adam."
Did the person riding look really cool?
Yes, I said he looks really cool.
Coordinated?
Mm-hmm.
Somewhat stylish?
You were stopped at a stop
It was
sign.
me.
I saw you look both ways and then just zoom across.
That
I
sounds
also
like
think I saw you like a Saturday of spring break along like Riverside, but your like back was to me, but I saw like I was like, I think that's his hair. And you were kind of far away. But I was like, there's not very many people in Tulsa that I know of that ride electric unicycles, so there's a high probability that that's Adam.
there was a very high probability. Don't think I'm stuck up, but when I'm out doing my thing, you know, I got a reputation to protect. So I don't go hanging out with scrubs, you know. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. If I don't say hi, it's just because I'm in my own world, but I'll say hi now. Katie, or not Katie, Kate, you're doing great. I think your high energy is fun. So I think so. What do you guys think? Caleb thinks
Thank
so
you.
too.
If it
All right.
gets spastic, just let me know.
But feel free to have more sugar. No, I'm just kidding.
Anyway, so the next game we're going into is Pictionary. Ria, if you would like to explain more about this, that would be great.
Yeah, so it's the classic game of Pictionary. I think almost everyone has played it before, but if you haven't, let me know so I can like explain the game real quick. But I found this random word generator, and I can send it here. And you can go ahead and open it up. Oh yeah, Caleb, go ahead.
So I've played it before, but it's been a while. So could you just re-explain the rules?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, so the way that we're gonna play is we're gonna use the whiteboard on Zoom. So how you get that is you press the share screen button, and when you press that, the whiteboard comes up. And so depending on who's in your room, only one person has to share their screen as a whiteboard, and everyone else will have like a drop down menu on the top. And if you click on the arrow, it usually has a thing that says annotate, and you can use that to like draw on the board as well. So at once one person shares their screen, everyone else can write on it. Basically how you play is you just click on the random word generator, and your room can choose how hard you want the words to be. So that's up to your room. I would say try to do medium and up, because easy is extremely easy. Like it's not that fun because it's so easy. So you click on a word, and then the person who's drawing draws the word, but you can't write the word or anything associated with it. It's just a picture, and then everybody else guesses what they think it is. And then if you guess it right, then the next person can go. Whoever guessed it can go, or if someone else wants to go, they can go. But it's just a little fun, yeah, just a little fun game that we wanted to put in between. So are there any questions before we go in? And did everyone get the random word generator, or should I send it in Basecamp? All good?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, sounds good. So Kate, if you want to put us in breakout rooms, you
Yep.
can go ahead and
I will open all the rooms. See you in a few. What were your words?
One of them was like preteen, another was archaeologist. It was
That
We
is
did the same
impressive.
thing. We went to the really hard at the very end too, and they were really hard.
Yeah,
There's
some
stuff
of
like
the really hard words, like
bed and
I don't even
breakfast.
understand how you're supposed to draw it.
Dang.
Yeah, there's super like abstract ideas or like professions where it's kind of more of like it's not something you would usually draw. So I hope that was fun.
Dance break.
Yes. So I hope everyone liked that activity. I'm speaking words today. Okay, but I hope everyone enjoyed that activity. We wanted to kind of add something in there for a little bit of fun. And if anyone has any ideas for like team building activities or just games in general, let me and Kate know because we would love to use some newer ideas. But yeah, did you guys all like the activity?
Yes, it was very fun and we all laughed a lot.
So would you like recommend it for other cohorts?
Yes.
Cool.
Got
All
a
right.
great, got to see other people's artistic abilities.
Awesome. Or lack thereof. No, that's really great.
Exactly.
Cool. All right, good. Good tips. All right. Good. We'll save that one.
Yep. But seriously, if you do have any team building games, please let us know. All the links that when we look up for team building games are purple, so
Yeah.
we would love to hear it. But yeah, so that was really fun. But we want to transition into a discussion, just prolonging the discussion we had earlier. So we kind of left off with both groups like having their lists of brainstormed methods. So we want to like talk about that, compile them kind of, and just see where each group left off. So
would one group want to kind of share their screen and explain kind of some of the ideas and things that they talked about in their group?
we can go first. My group.
Okay, sounds good.
So let me share my screen. Actually, it's a really small font because it is the same as the Zoom, like the chat font. It is loading, I can see, but yep. So I'll zoom in because that's kind of necessary. We were kind of lost because it's just so ambiguous to try to find a method. But we came up with these little things. Okay, sorry, my computer's really slow, so it's gonna take even just like a second to get to see the list. There it goes. Okay, so we thought of things, and other people in the group, please chime in, but we thought of something in schools, like interactive, kind of like how they did sex ed. Daily check-ins through our website would be really smart, just to keep people engaged. Daily texts from us. I really liked these two together when Kayla brought them up. And then like social media forums, because we thought social media can be like a big problem for people. So if they're going to be on there, we want to combat it like there. So like even if they don't want to read it, they'll see it and it'll maybe spark something better than it not being there, you know. And then providing like a safe space for a parent, a kid, or professional meeting. And obviously that comes with like liabilities, but we don't have to be the ones running it. We can just like have a link to it, you know, it's kind of another resource. But I thought that would be really smart because it's really hard for kids to talk to their parents. So if we just like facilitate that a little bit, and then we could have like announcements in classrooms because we know schools are like the easiest way to streamline information to kids, even if they don't want to hear it. And when I say kids, I mean teens. I should probably change my terminology. And then raise awareness in schools. Even if it becomes background noise, they'll hear it subconsciously. And then interactive online courses. And like we were kind of half and half on this because TPS people knew that even no matter how short it was, it can be really disengaging to have to do like online anything like modules or watch videos. But Caleb was talking about how he had like online stuff, interactive courses with a person to give feedback that kind of tailored the course to the group's needs. And I thought that would be really engaging. We all did. And then we thought kind of like an anonymous Dropbox for questions and then like a bulletin for the answers. But like the questions would go to professionals like once a week, maybe if when they had time to read them. And then Ria wanted to talk about this, and we can do that after you guys present your second part, but talk about how like these are kind of little ideas. We don't know if these are add-ons to like a big solidified interactive aspect of the project or just the website. And then as we were talking about it, we were thinking of criteria. We want to make it like simple language to like just makes like not, we didn't want to bring up like super big words that are going to be disengaging, like make people feel like it's not for them because they're super big words. So we just want to make it as accessible as possible, so that people won't be turned away from it just by terminology, that kind of thing. So that was what we thought of, and please, other people from my group, talk more on it. I'm sure I missed something.
Okay, it's just a thought, but you know how like whenever we can look at the agenda and it'll say like anonymous something is looking at the agenda? What if we had something kind of like that, to where if maybe we had like a little Google Doc or had something that like had questions on there, and they could like write their answers out, and we maybe have like a group or it could be individual, like you can't see the other person's name or like email address. So what if we kind of did something like that, like sent out like a little survey or questions every week or every day so they could answer?
I like the idea, Caleb. I'll put it on this list and we can come back to it after the other group shares. But that's a great idea. I like that. It keeps the anonymity.
Yeah, those are great ideas, guys. Ashlyn, do you want to go ahead and share your screen?
Yeah, I can talk about it too if you want me to.
That sounds great. Yeah.
So this is our Miro board. We also briefly talked about social media. I want to say that, but I don't think we really added it. So we had like our obvious like two things were simulation and curriculum, and then these pink, the darker pink sticky notes are like things like subsections of the light pink ones, and then this purple one was just a note for curriculum. So I made it a different color of just like how often would we hold whatever curriculum. If we decide to do curriculum, how often would it happen? But I should talk about the other stuff first. So our first thing underneath curriculum was some type of class or training, like in school, or like you guys talked about with like the sex ed like thing, and then we could like figure out all the little things that go underneath that. And then one of the just like not criteria, but like not really methods, just like factors, I guess you could call it, was that we talked about was mandatory versus optional. So like if it's a class in school, it would probably be a mandatory thing versus something that's optional, like outside of school that you can sign up for on your own. And we like discussed like mandatory could get like boring and disengaging, and people, it might not be as useful if we had something that was optional. And then we also said an after school activity or a club thing, and like the way we wanted to like get that point across of like the method of how we would do the after school thing is like not like a seminar, that was a bad word for it, but like a support group type thing where like everybody meets in like a small group and you talk about it, if that makes any sense. Somebody might be able to, like from my group, might be able to word that better, but that's like what we talked about. And then we also said like maybe we could model it after mesh, so like implementing it at a school where it's like a smaller club type thing through a school. So if we also wanted to go through a school, we could do that. And then a sign up through schools so that we can get the word out about our curriculum, even if we don't like host whatever our project ended up being at a school. And then we also said, this kind of goes along with the after school activity thing, but we said a small group setting. So like if any of you know what like the high school leadership conference or basic is, kind of like those where like you're in a small group and you all like bond together, and it's like maybe a day long thing, maybe longer. And there's times when you come as a big group, or we don't have to include that, but like we could basically model it after them, because everybody who goes to these say that they're really engaging and fun. So like that could be a way that we could make something that's fun and engaging. But obviously ours won't be about leadership, so it would be a like new take on that. So we're not like stealing their idea. And then we also said, I think it was Kayla who brought this up, a method that's specifically geared through to teens. And we didn't really like talk about this that much, but we just said like through an existing program, whether that be like social media or something new. And I'm not like completely sure what she meant. So in a sec, like I'll hand it off to her if she wants to like explain that. But under that we said a fully in-person aspect would be a good idea, because with like our website, we kind of already have the virtual aspect, and then we put like could be manipulated into something that's online if we needed it to. And then this one is just like that thing that Arjun was talking about, like I think it was like first semester, where it was like a website, and like you could click on different things and it would take you to like different places. Like one might show you a video, another might link you to a website where you can read about something, one might link you to a game or activity. I'm not really like kind of like a virtual like house tour, but like a website with like resources, if that makes any sense. So yes, if anybody wants to add on from my group, I'll shut up now.
I guess to elaborate on the social media thing I was talking about, I just brought it up because I remember, I forget if it was like as a committee or as a whole group, we mentioned how we could make our method more geared towards teens. And for example, like we could have our website or something have like certain, I guess, features of social media. And like, again, we didn't really like flesh it out that much. It was just like brought up on how like we could implement sort of like features that were really aimed towards teens, like social media. But it wasn't like through existing social media apps like Instagram or like TikTok or stuff like that. It was more just like making our website or like something else just really like elevated when it comes to addressing like our audience.
Yeah, those are really good points. We kind of wanted to just kind of take what we got from our breakout rooms and then answer the two big questions that I kind of heard in both groups. Well, from like my group, it was like, so how often do we want our method to be like prevalent? Do we want it to be something that's more of like a daily thing, a weekly thing, or something where it's like annually we have like a week of this and then the next year we have something like it again? So like how often do we want our method to be showing up for teens? And then Ria, could you repeat your question again? I want to say it was talking about like, are these like smaller parts of a bigger project? But do you want to explain it a little bit better?
Yeah, I was just asking whether our project was going to be like a bunch of little ideas coming together, or if we want to have like one foundational method that we build off of. Because I know we have the website, but then we were also talking about how we wanted to have something else so it wasn't just the website. So I was just asking if we wanted to build off of the website or like put a bunch of little things together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. Something I did see in almost all of them, everything kind of goes off of a basis of some sort of curriculum of some sort. So maybe having those like tiny ideas form into a curriculum, just an idea, like throwing that out there. But yeah, let's discuss that. We can go ahead and take a look at first, how often do we want this to be? So open discussion, how often do we want our project to be in progress?
I feel like the most effective way would be like something that's like weekly, maybe bi-weekly. I think like at the the longest time period we should stretch it is like bi-weekly, because if it's something that's like once a month or only once a year, I feel like people will like summer camp, you know, when like you're there and like you're so immersed in whatever you're doing, like if it's like church camp or something, you're so immersed in that, but then once you leave you kind of forget about like what you learned and like what you were there to do, and like you immersed yourself in it and then you like lost it again, and it kind of just like trickled away out of your life. So I feel like if we want it to be like a constant thing, like, and also I mean like part of that is like seeking out the like tips for mental wellness, but a way that like we could foster like mental wellness in a way that people wouldn't have to like actively seek it out as much, is if we held something that was like pretty regular, or like sent out like daily texts or whatever like the other group talked about, so that way like it was in the forefront of people's mind most of the time.
I have a question. I'm on like the how often. This is like in relation to the addition to website, like not like the daily check-ins and that kind of thing,
This is
right?
more directed to like the addition, like because kind of what we're looking at, the addition is most likely going to be some sort of in-person aspect. So how often do we want this in-person aspect to like occur? Do we, and like as Ashlyn was saying, like maybe bi-weekly at the most, like something more regular rather than something like annually. What is everybody else's thoughts on that?
I'd like to just chime in. I don't know that we can answer that, to be honest. I want to, I mean, maybe you guys have answers, so I don't want to cut that off, but I guess what I'd want to say is like, you know, you can hit one nail 20 times, or you could hit 20 nails one time, or any, you know, different combinations thereof. I mean, but it depends on what you're hitting nails for. Does that make sense? So like you know, like if you have a message, maybe I hear it one time and it's transformed me. That was your goal, like get the message to each person one time and reach as many people with that message. Or you're going to hit fewer people, but you're going to want to get them multiple times with that message because it will require it. But we don't know until we know the message. I want to know we have a student here that you want to have an impact on. What is that impact? What do you want them to know? You know, and I hear what you're on a very important track. What you're saying is this student over here has things going on inside their head, and they may not be able to talk about it. Maybe it's something embarrassing, or maybe it's something taboo, or, you know, it's a lot of like thoughts. I don't know. Maybe other people don't talk about their thoughts that are upsetting to them. So I'm not going to talk about my thoughts that are upsetting to me. But you guys are saying those things are undiscussables. That's what we mean by an undiscussable. It's whatever's inside of you that's troubling you. You know, you don't have an outlet for it. And so we think that people will be healthier if they have more outlets for it. So help people to learn to identify the undiscussables with them, and then maybe channel that to say, well, they're not so undiscussable actually. Just because they haven't been discussed doesn't mean they can't be discussed. And we want to show you how. You know, but first, I guess I'll dismount here. The thing I want to say is, first, what is the outcome you want to have? What are the outcomes you want to have for said student?
I think we're pretty clear already on the purpose and outcomes we want for the student based on like what Ria made so well on Miro. But I think we're like confused on the method, and I think please other people chime in. I don't know if I'm the only one. I'm a little confused on how to answer the question of how often do we want this to be if we don't know what it is.
I
That's
think what our group was kind of like discussing was it would help a bit to narrow down the method if we can kind of target how often. So if we were to say that like, oh, we want it to be more of a regular thing, then that would kind of take off the idea of having like a leadership convention style thing because we want it to be more often. So that was kind of why we brought up the question, but it doesn't necessarily have to be answered yet.
I think like the frequency of it depends on how we want to implement it, because if we're trying to make it mandatory, we can't make it weekly because people have like mandatory classes that they need for graduation, or like a lot of us are in IB, we can't miss class that often. So that would have to be something that would be like once. But if it's like optional, then I think we could do it weekly.
okay. I like that point, Michelle. It's a really good point to make. What else? What other ideas are you guys getting? Reactions?
I was gonna say that if we are doing something that's like mandatory or whatever, it like reminds me of like my NHS. Like we had to go to like a certain number of meetings. Like they were held like every like Tuesday or something, but we only had to attend like a certain number a year, if that made sense. Which is like a good thing to keep into consideration. Like even if we have one every week, it's not like everyone that is like, you know what I mean? Like we don't need to reach every single person every single time. Just has something to think about.
I think, sorry, I don't want to talk too much, but I'm just thinking like compiling that idea with Michelle's and the idea from the Miro group, the second group. When you're talking about like HSLC, because it's tied to after school things. If there was like an after school like club, kind of like NHS, where a lot of people do it, and you have these weekly things, but you only have to show up to like so many to be a part of the club. And then you could possibly, now HSLC is really, it's I can't really think of the word, but like lack of a better term, it's really legit. It's been established for a while. And we could possibly work on developing that kind of thing. But I think trying to compile those ideas, if we did an after school type thing, that would open us up to something that could be like HSLC, you know, because it could be in multiple schools and then those multiple schools could be together. But sorry, I will mute myself now.
I think in the chat when people are talking about like mandatory or not, I think like a club is kind of a good mix of both, because like you can choose to be in the club, but then like within the club you'll have like mandatory meetings or mandatory activities you have to do. So I think that can be something to think about if you want to find like a compromise and do both.
Yeah, I think we kind of discussed something about having it more of like an after school or before school club kind of setting where it's not taking up class time, but at the same time it's implemented in schools, which is our main source of teens. And we kind of talked about like mesh, how that was implemented as a club in schools. We could kind of model it after like a club-based kind of thing. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Oh, and also if we made it like a available more often, but like you didn't have to come all the time, it might be better for people who might have certain commitments, like, oh, if I practice every Tuesday, for example, and they were held on Tuesdays at their school, then they might not be able to come. But every now and then there was one held on a Friday and they don't have practice on a Friday, then they could like go to that. So that would be another thing about like making it like optional, or like, oh, you can come to however many you want, or you only have to come to like 2, but we'll hold it at different times so that more people could use it, because obviously like there's not going to be one day where everybody can like come. That's just too difficult in high school, especially. And like we can't be like, oh no, you have to miss your sports practice for this. So
Also, I want to encourage you, if you're like contrasting with this idea, if you don't like it, speak up. For sure, we want to hear everybody.
Yeah, could someone like explain how we got on this whole idea of like clubs and stuff? Because I thought like based on our outcomes, we were just kind of like talking about like certain things that we wanted to teach people. So would we just be like teaching them the same things every time, or like giving them a chance to practice it? Or I just don't understand why there would be a need to like meet so much.
It was just an idea when we were brainstorming. It doesn't necessarily have to be a club. When we were looking at how to make it like non-mandatory, but something more regular, we kind of settled on that. That idea of like, oh, hey, maybe a club would be a good idea. But that's just kind of how we got there.
Yeah, I also just wanted to say really quick, just to kind of circle back a little bit, when I had said about the leadership conference that I had gone to, I didn't mean that, it had to be in the same like once a year or whatever. We can do it however often we want, and not that it's necessarily going to be the whole day, but just kind of using like their methods of getting us engaged and keeping us, making it interactive, just kind of using their method, but not necessarily like the same amount of time or the same like quite as often as they do it, or whatever as far as timing goes, just using like their structure.
I was gonna say, for like you said, like why would we meet so much? Like what are we like doing? Well, we don't know what we're teaching yet, but in my head, like if we had that many meetings, and like even if we had like them in like different days of the week, you're obviously getting a different crowd each time, but definitely some of the same people. So obviously we're not going to be teaching the same thing. Most likely, based on our outcomes, we'll probably have to teach like a skill or like something like different each time, but like all very similar. Like one day you learn about like, I don't know, managing
Right.
or like blah blah blah. And then I also want to say that we should definitely stray away from the word mandatory. Like I don't know we'd use, but like whenever I hear that word, it's like, ugh, like this is mandatory. Like I don't know what word we would use in place of it, but like that word just like brings like a sense of like, I don't know, just like, yeah, just like it makes it sound like a negative thing, like something that's mandatory. You know what I mean? So I just want to say that too.
And I don't know if anyone had anything, like I know at my elementary school we had this after school program called like Kids for Christ. And not that this is going to be anything religious, but the couple times that I went, it was like a different, basically like sermon or a different like lesson that you would learn every time. So we could like, if we were going to do it weekly, and people could come as they wanted, or if we did it like NHS where they have to go so many a year, but not that they have to go every week, or however we do it, we could like advertise every week, or like Fellowship of Christian Athletes, something like that, where like you say like what is going to be discussed that week, and then people can decide if they want to be there. And then like if we're discussing like eating disorders or something and that makes someone uncomfortable, then they can know don't go that day or something like that. Just kind of like if we had it built in where we have our certain curriculum or whatever, however we want to present the information, then we can do that, but then adjust it and put in different activities and different like material based on the lesson of that week.
Yeah, especially with like our topic, I think it might be a good idea to like push out like, hey, this is what we would be talking about this week, because I know like we're trying to go for a more like wellness standpoint, but if we do want to talk about something that could like be a sensitive subject like eating disorders or something, that could like be like a trigger for people, or like something that like they like makes them not in a good place, and so we wouldn't want them to come and be like, oh yay, like I'm gonna learn, and then they're actually like, oh shit, like I don't want to talk about this, or I don't want to hear about this.
I think this topic is engaging for like discussion right now because it's really interactive, which is good, and it's really feasible because we've seen it done before. So like, well, not done the exact way, but reactions to this for those of you that haven't been like talking. I just want to hear reactions to see like where you're at. Like, do you like the idea? Do you think it meets criteria? Do you think you would find it like engaging?
I'm just gonna say one other thing. I still feel like our big issue is just gonna be getting people to go. Like everyone does want their like obviously like I want to improve my mental wellness. Like I can say that, but like, do I really want to stay after school to like listen to people talk? Like I don't know. I feel like that like I don't know how to fix it either. I don't have any solutions right now, but we definitely need to keep that in mind. Because like if I just like saw a poster, it'd be like mental wellness group meeting. Like I don't know. I would just be like, it's weird. Like not that it's weird, but like these are high schoolers. These are 16, 17, 18. You're like, you know what I mean? Just got to keep that in mind.
I totally agree, but also think about like how many people go to FCA in the mornings and stuff like that, or after school, or however your school does it. But things like that, that it's going to take time to establish a following, and we have to remember that, and we have to remember that it's not going to be an immediate, surge of people coming that are going to be like, oh, sweet, let's talk about mental wellness and mental health issues and all those super uncomfortable things, which is the whole point and reason why we're there and why we're doing this project. So it's going to take time to show that it's a safe space and that it's not as uncomfortable as it seems, or to get those people who do feel uncomfortable to be comfortable. So we have to remember that it's going to take time, but we also have to, like Ria said, market it very well and, just get the word out and express what it really is, and not really let the rumors of like, oh, they're just going to talk about mental illness and tell you that you're depressed. Like we have to stop that and make sure that what people hear about our project and our like club or whatever we're going to call it is based solely on what we want it to be perceived as.
So, I mean, we've gotten pretty detailed explanation of what a club would look like at this point. So what do you guys think about that? Just purely reactionary right now. It can be you like it can be like you don't like it, you want something modified. Just
who would be like, so if this is like a club that's in like the different schools in Tulsa, would we just have to have like, who would be in charge of leading these? Would it be like students, or would we get people to lead them?
So like in any club, there's always some sort of adult that's responsible for the club, and then there's students that are like involved in leadership. Yeah, like a sponsor of some sort. So we can try to bring in, it just depends on who our partners are and who wants to like work with us in that way. I can't remember which club it is, but I think there's some clubs in our school where there's like external sponsors where they like are not union faculty, but they come in to kind of help with the club because it's an established club outside of union and it's just a branch. So it just kind of depends on who we want to partner with, and it would be run technically by a sponsor, but there would be it would be student led at the same time. So there would be student leadership, but the basis is an adult.
I like the idea of having external sponsors so we could have actual professionals monitor it, because I don't think it should just be teachers and students doing it. I think there needs to be professionals. So I like the idea of the external sponsors if that's possible. The only thing is that I don't know how possible that would be for some schools, because like union's pretty established within like with their resources to other people, but it seems somewhat doable.
Yeah, what are some other, how are you guys feeling about this club idea?
I really like it. I think it could be super engaging. And especially if it's student run, I feel like I don't know. I really like this idea.
Does anybody else have any other ideas? I know it'd be hard to follow up because like that's pretty detailed for a proposition. But does anybody have any other ideas that you were excited about or you want to talk about from your groups, or if you've thought of one? It can be however big, however small.
We don't know what you guys are thinking unless you guys speak up. So we don't know if we should like move on from this or like go back to brainstorming. So we need to hear more voices.
Well, while people are thinking, as I was listening to you all, I was trying to see, hold on, let me find it. Yeah, let me share with you. I was just mapping out the way I map out things in my mind, the way I think of strategies, which is kind of like strategies break down into tactics, and then tactics break down into actions. So you all were describing strategies and tactics to me. So as you guys were going through things, I heard, I'll just show you bigger picture. This one, this one, this one, and this one, and this one. So I heard you guys say, one thing is a communication strategy. And I heard, you didn't go too far into it because we only, had a couple groups present. But if you could see here, one was a social media strategy, and then somebody else said we have a messaging campaign. Well, there will be others too. I've misspelled tactic, but you get what I'm doing here. So each one of these you could fill in because I think you can do like a writing articles and as in like you write articles and place them in publications. So you write to Teen Vogue and stuff. Yeah, I don't know, and you have a message communication strategy. Another was website. And I heard somebody say we could have social media features on the website and we could have it be an online course on the website. And so I was like, okay, well, that could be populated with more tactics or tactics. I heard somebody else say, well, we could develop a curriculum that has live training and there could be an activity or club involved. And that's what we were discussing more, more recently. And then I heard partnerships, schools and conferences, and then you could populate those with more. And the way I think of it is if you turn these big gears, partnerships, curriculum, website, communication, or whatever one I missed, or whatever, if you change them, if you turn these gears, what happens is you start to produce the outcomes you want. As you turn all the gears, I don't know if I could turn more than one at a time, I can't, but if you could get all these gears turning, then you'll be producing your outcomes. That's the theory. If they're the right strategies, then turning these gears produces the outcomes you want. Does that make sense? I'm gonna turn off straight. I'm gonna look you in the eyes. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, if the big gears are turned by those littler gears, what do you think turns those littler gears?
Us.
That's right. You do, through actions you take. Through the actions you take, those turn the gears. And so that's what the little green ones are for. I'm sorry, my Miro board is really messy. I got too much Miro going on. I'm leaking Miro all over the place. I need a Miro transfer. Okay, no. So anyway, right, these are actions. And the actions you take, if you turn the action wheel, turning that will turn the tactic wheels. And as you turn the tactic wheels, that's what turns the strategy wheels. And that's what produces your outcomes. So I think you're on the right pathway. You're figuring out which of these methods will produce our our outcomes. Because what does it take to turn these wheels? What does turning these gears require? Rhymes with resources.
Resources.
Yes, resources like your time. If you don't have time to turn the gear, you can't turn the gear. Energy, focus, skills. If you got to take the actions to turn the gears. And so if you have too many gears going on, you won't be able to do it. You don't know how much resources you have. I mean, to turn all these gears, do you need to have everybody in the cohort as a fan on 3? And if you have some that are fans on 3s and some that are fans on 1s, how will that enable you to get the gears turned? And if you're going to do live events and you got a year to get this going before you graduate, that means you got to prototype it, you've got to beta test it, you got to build it, then you got to test it, and then you got to learn what you do from testing, and you got to do it more than once probably. And then you get, build, measure, learn, as we've talked about before. You build it, you measure it, you learn how effective it was, and then you incorporate it in. So build, measure, learn. Do you have time to do that with a strategy that involves getting schools to let you in, getting adult professionals to be mentors, and then probably the hardest one is getting the teens to show up? As Katie was saying, I actually think that's really good. There's a lot of people who want teens to show up to events, and teens are pretty picky about the events they go to. So maybe if you're established like a huge club, then you would then you can start to say, well, these other big clubs, they get to draw a crowd. But you have to realize those have a reputation. They're national. People have those they add those to their resumes for college or high school transcripts because they're recognized as like, oh, a good thing to have. I mean, that's one of the motivators. I'm sure not the best one and not the only motivator, but do you have those kinds of things working in your favor in order to pull off a club strategy? Or, do you want to use strategies that rely less on other people, because other people takes a lot of coordination? You'll find out if you haven't already. So anyway, those are factors to consider, because in order to make these gears turn, you need to have resources. And are these the right, when I look at these 5, do they look like the right ones that you could build upon? Anyway, I'm just going to stop there. There's a lot of thoughts, but I wanted to show what I was hearing from you all before you started to really focus in on the club strategy.
So based on what Adam was saying, do you guys think this is a good way to meet our criteria and use our resources? I liked his point. It's very practical of this is a lot of people. This takes a lot of alignment of people. But in my mind, I was thinking, if we have outside partners or external sponsors, they're businesses. They know how to be run like Copes, so that could help us a lot. So I want to hear from all of you. Do you think this is we don't have to decide today. I'm just saying, before we move forward with the club idea, I want to make sure that everybody's engaged with this idea, or at least most everyone, because I mean, it's a pretty big decision, but we just want to gauge your interest right now. Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think it's a good use of resources? Do you think time-wise it could be doable? So get a gauge of that. I definitely want to hear your voices, but also in the participants, if you could put a green yes, that would be really helpful.
I was going to say that if it is a club and implemented through a school, that it would be super important to us to have it I don't know. I just feel like starting a club in the middle of the year is not bad or anything, but just a thing, just to keep in mind. Because if we do something school related, then the school year is part of our thing,
Well, I don't know if we would necessarily be starting it now, just because we still have to come up with some methods and other stuff before we actually implement it. And so possibly by starting it next year, we'd have a pretty good basis on it. Because we only have like, well, my school only has like 5 weeks left of school, 6 weeks, before the school year is over. But I feel like if we got a good basis on it within these next few weeks and possibly a little bit into summer and then a little bit before school started, then I feel like we could do a pretty good job of getting it into schools starting the next school year.
It honestly depends on how much resources we get and how fast. Sterling, if it takes us until February of 2022 to like fully establish exactly what we want to see from our club, curriculum wise, everything, then it would be wise to start it like we have it ready, our partners are ready, our schools are ready to like take this idea, they could implement it themselves starting 2022 fall when we're already done with our year 3. But if we somehow get it all ironed out by December, we could potentially put it in schools our second semester next year. So it honestly just depends on how fast we work with this, but there's no rush because we do have a full year and there's no necessity for it to be up and running for a while when we finish our year.
Yeah, and I just want to mention, like, I love the forward thinking, like time-wise, but also that depends a lot on how much we get done, and that's on us. So we got to work hard for this. One thing I know is that a lot of through brainstorming from Sunday today, we really wanted something interactive. And I'm just trying to think. I don't even know if there could be something more interactive than this, considering that's not like totally disengaging, you know? But just it's the same question pretty much, but what do you guys feel about it?
I also feel like since COVID is a thing, and I mean the vaccines are starting to get handed out, that we could do something in person a little bit more, but we still have to kind of be a little bit precautious about what we. I mean that's also the school's policy too. Like if we have in schools, that they're gonna have to focus on their own policy and not what we put out, and so I don't think we should really focus on mostly that. But I feel like for schools, mostly like bigger schools like CPS schools and Bixby and Broken Arrow, if we decided to go there, I feel like we'd have to have, because there's a lot of kids there, and like there's over 1,000 kids, and so I feel like we couldn't just have, maybe there'd just be one club, but there'd have to be a lot of different meetings, because there may be one more than 40 kids in a class, and I know that some of those classrooms can't fit necessarily for like 40 kids. So I think we'd have to think about, and like also with the school about what their guidelines are. So.
I think Sterling, to answer yours, I think we're trying to like not necessarily create like a club like for like a school or like for a certain school, just like a club that can be picked up by schools necessarily. I believe that is like what we were on, like how a lot of schools have the same clubs. Like I don't even know what are popular clubs, like Key Club. Like I feel like a couple schools like obviously ours wouldn't be nationally run or anything, but more like a yeah, like what Ali said in the chat, just something that like your schools can like pick up, like it's established, like you'll have everything like set up and like you'll just have to like find someone to like implement it in your schools, if that makes sense. At least that's what I think it is. Like just one universally be the same thing for each school, but like you would have to pick it up like in your school, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because we'd have one curriculum based in that.
Yeah. So usually with those like clubs that you see in multiple, like for NHS for like an example, they have the same basis of like whatever the honor code or whatever like standard things that they ask of their members. that are universal, and then a school charters the club. So they say, okay, we want NHS in our school. So that would kind of work with ours. So we would have our own curriculum, whatever we want from the club, and schools would charter us where they would be like, hey, we want to use your resources to like start a club in our school. And we would reach out to those schools to tell them like, hey, we're a thing, come charter us in a way. Does that make sense?
I think it would, yeah, I think that makes sense, but I just kind of want to elaborate more on something that like we've heard a lot, like purpose outcome method. I think we would have like a purpose statement that would be the same for everybody. We'd have the same curriculum, we would have the same outcomes. And then methods, we could provide them with like lists of methods, like games and like the lessons and stuff. I think that would be smart, and keep professionals in it so that if they do deviate, professionals will be like, hey, that's not good. Honestly, do you guys need a break right now? Because we can take a break and come back to the discussion. I want to make sure that everybody's voices are heard. So if you need time for your mind to just take a little break, so then you'll like interact more, we can take a break.
Yeah, we're gonna just take a 5-minute break and come back and continue the discussion.
See you guys in 5 minutes. start heading back if you're not. I'm on my phone because my laptop crashed, so I can't see anybody really. But if you're not, start heading back. I can see some people. Hello. Nice to see your faces, as always. So once everybody starts coming back, we'll just keep talking about the discussion. I needed that mental break. It was nice. So get your ideas formed in your mind, and we'll just go off from there. But we need hashtag mental wellness, hashtag grind, But that was really cringy saying it, but some laugh. But yeah, so we'll wait until a couple more people come back, but that's what we're gonna do.
So after taking, yes, that was me and Kate just thinking of random theme ideas, and we're like, hey, how about this? We can be a little quirky with it. So thank you, Allie.
What's a word you associate with grind? After you say grind, what else do you think about?
Oh yeah.
Like, what was the association with grind? Teeth? Oh, right.
That's funny. Night guards for teeth when you grind them. For me, I think of like pen to paper.
I think of gears. So is grind, is that a positive association and net neutral or negative? Tell me more about grind.
I think it's a positive thing, like getting work done, being productive. That's what I think. Whenever I say grind, like with my brother, and then we'll just have like a whole study session where he helps me with homework. So
All right, rubber meets the road kind of thing. It's a grind. See, because in my mind, it's grind is like, all right, we're doing the daily grind. We just got to grind it out. You just gotta do it. You got to shoulder through it and push through. And I don't know, for me, I don't know. But for other people with achiever mindsets, that I think that's good. It's like, it's tangible. It's getting traction. It's the only way to make things happen is you do work. I don't know. Am I thinking about this too much?
No, I get it. I get it from both. Because two sides of a coin,
So
yeah.
I'm working on a visual now. I mean, you've seen me talk about this stuff, but it really is about like, how do you get from purpose to outcomes? Well, first of all, what produces outcomes is our actions. That's what these green ones are. So I'll take these ones out, and so it's these actions that produce the outcomes. But what tells you what actions to take? See, this is what troubles people, I think, because most people don't know the difference between an action and emotion. Motion and action are not the same things. Most people that you see, they look like they're taking action, but they're really making motion. You ever see somebody study really hard, but they don't get any results? And somebody who studies minimally, but gets results? That person who studies minimally might be taking the right actions. Anyway, so the actions are informed by tactics. So tactics are what tell you what actions to do. And then your strategy is what tells you what tactics to choose. So you have a purpose, you have your outcomes, and now what you're saying now is we think we'll produce our outcomes largely, through a live event. One of your you might have several strategies going, and one of your strategies is we're going to do these clubs. Because it looks like a cone here, right? I want to show you something really quickly. That cone shape kind of looks like that here, right here. This one. action, the O stands for operations, STO, strategic, tactic, operations, but that means the same as actions. And that's what produces your outcomes. So, and then if you see that cone shape, if you play it out, it really is a circular shape like this. Anyway, but what we want to do is help you identify what actions or operations or actions to take, and your tactics will tell you, and that's determined by your strategies. That's what we're doing now. And so for me, when I think of grind, I think what you're doing with the gear, like to me, the gears kind of, captures it. This is a machine to produce outcomes. And you can apply this thinking to any aspect of your life. I'm giving you, I know it's weird what I'm talking about, but this idea of between purpose and outcomes, this is everything. And I'm showing you the way you get from purpose to outcomes is by identifying strategies that break down into tactics and that you convert into operations or actions. All right, I'm going to stop there because this is all you have to do is figure out how to plug in your project into this format or anything, how to get into college, how to build a business. Everything we do, any outcomes we want are determined by the actions we take. Anyway, and you now know the relationship, and you will not have anybody teach you this stuff. Not in college, not in grad school, and probably not beyond unless you hire a consultant like me to tell you that.
Yeah, the visual of the gears is really good. It goes along with the theme. So I think first, before we try and like divide into strategies, tactics, operations, that kind of thing, like committees, I think we need to decide if we really want to move forward with clubs. A lot of people have energy behind this, but I want to hear from some people if they don't. I want to hear from all sides, from everyone, because in order to move forward, in order for all of us to be on the same page, we all need to communicate. So, do you guys want to move forward with clubs? Or do you want to wait and make a decision later, considering how many people are here? I mean, if they're not here. But anyway, go ahead, speak up.
I feel like we need to take a second and like think about what we're trying to do, because we have the outcomes that we want to teach people, but I don't think we know how to teach people to get to that point yet. So I feel like we need to figure that out first before we decide how we want to deliver those lessons to people. Because that might not, like how we end up deciding we think is best to teach people might not end up aligning with whatever method we're trying to like deliver our curriculum with.
That's a very good point, Haley. How about everyone else? What are you thinking?
I agree with Haley. I think we should wait just to see what the rest of the group decides on Sunday or whatever, because it's hard to get everyone there on a date because everyone is doing different things and have more important things at the moment. But maybe I feel like the club would be good just because it's also what we wanted for our purpose to be, and I feel like that is the best way to do it is through a school. And maybe curriculum would be the best, but there's already a ton of curriculums out there. And so maybe a club would be like a different way to go, like a better go, just because it's different and not a lot of people are like, oh, it's just a class. It's optional. It's not mandatory. So.
Yeah, I agree with Caleb. I'm in my car right now and my Zoom has been cutting out a little bit. So hopefully you guys can hear me. But I think that like it's a pretty unique like way to, not like pretty, but I feel like it's a good way to like get our project out there and we can reach more people. And I do think we should hold off on making a decision though, because obviously like not everybody's here, and so if they want like to be included, then like we should probably hold off on doing that and just like weigh our other options. But like the best possible way to go would be, but I do feel like it's a good way, and I'm just repeating myself, so sorry.
I'm just gonna build off what Ashton said. I do think like we should kind of wait until everyone else gets here, but I feel like for today we should continue building on this club idea, so that way when we meet everyone next, we can like give them the whole rundown, and that way they're like clear on what we're talking about, we're clear on what we're talking about, and there's no confusion in the idea.
Yeah, I completely agree, kind of, because we only have, our group has shrunk down like a lot today, so I hate to make a decision without everyone. So I think, yeah, we should hold off on making a decision, but we know that we have a lot of energy surrounding this club idea. So I completely agree, Ria, that we should kind of take a look. We could try to iron out some like specific details to help explain it to the rest of the group. And then maybe if it's okay with Adam and Kate, we could possibly end a little earlier today.
Yeah, we could end early, but I don't want to end too early because I like how Ria said that we could elaborate on this so that when we kind of present it to the rest of the cohort, that there'll be like minimized confusion. So I think maybe if we went into possible breakout rooms to just keep talking about it, or we could stay in this group because there's not that many of us.
The idea, just to be clear, the idea is you'd like to flesh out this concept a little bit more?
Yeah.
Okay.
So kind of getting this club idea a little bit more detailed. That way, whenever we explain it to the big group, they understand exactly what we talked about as well.
And then continue.
Yeah. So I think we could stay in this room for it since there's not as many of us. Also, thank you everyone who showed up today. I know it's Good Friday and like a few of you guys have like the day off and stuff. So thank you for like being here. So yeah, so what are some ideas of how we can make things more specific when we explain it to the big group, or some specific details that you think stood out for this club idea?
I like how like versatile it is. So like it depends, like the time that the club happens depends on the school hosting it. So that way, if a school has a lot of people that like work after school or they have to take care of siblings, they could have it in the mornings, or if they have like an activity period, they could host it then. So that way more people can try to get to it.
I like that too, and I like the fact that schools could have it and teens are in schools. I mean, legally they have to be there, so I like that they there's really good access to it. What else? What else do you think would energize the people that weren't here for the discussion? Like what were some like buzzwords you heard that like kind of like got you engaged? Or you could even bring up things like to point out like why you think it wouldn't work, so we can have like a totally objective discussion about it.
I actually have a question. So are we gonna do this just to Tulsa schools, like in the Tulsa district? I know this might this can come up later, but just when we explain it, that's a question that we get back. Are we thinking just Tulsa district, or how far is this club gonna go?
I think it's a good question, but I think like for like probably any of the methods that we would choose, it would be starting at least in Tulsa, starting at the schools we're at. So like Booker T, Edison, Union, Jinx. We would like start in these schools, and then like there's no limit. It could grow into something really good if we have really good partners. Like really big is what I mean. Especially if after a while, if it becomes established enough to have a good reputation, then people could put it on transcripts and stuff. Because I know at my school, there's even small clubs that people put on their transcripts because they're officers or whatnot. And it helps them, like it helps them get in places. So I think that also could help it grow, you know. But I think, yeah, starting in Tulsa, starting with a small audience of just Tulsa high schoolers, wherever the school is, like for us, specifically you, Rhea, like Booker T.
Kate, is there a way to turn on closed captions? I didn't know that was an option, but that sounds awesome.
I'm not the host right now. I believe you are. I'm sorry because my computer crashed.
Oh, okay. Maybe I am the host. I don't know how to do it. So is it under, I don't know.
I'm not sure either.
I'll look, I'll Googleize it. Keep going.
Okay. Great question, Rhea. Because if you want to bring up questions that they might have, that would be a good way to like flesh out some details too.
I don't know if this is kind of random, but so I like that you said it was like when I asked about who would be leading it, like a charter program. So if we get people from like a partnership to help out with it, would we be like paying like these people to lead it, or would they just need to like volunteer? I don't know if that makes sense, you know?
If there's anybody from partnerships, you guys would have a lot more information on this than Rhea or I would.
It would kind of be hard to partner with. Obviously, Michelle just left, and her partnership was probably one of the better ones that we talked to. But like, if we were to like have them help us with our project, it would honestly take a while for them to, like, we did it, like, we can't do it through Laureate because we'd have to go through the whole St. Francis system, and that would just be a long time, and it'd be a pain. And the guy who I talked to said that it probably wouldn't be best for us to partner with them, but he gave us a lot of feedback on like who we should partner with. Maybe if it's just like a smaller community, there's one that came to my school they're called Together Just, and they actually partner with a lot of schools, Stuco, including ours, in raising mental awareness. So.
Well, that does raise a good point. I would love for you to brainstorm who else is doing something similar, who else is doing live club type things around mental health, whether it's about, feeling included, or whether it's about bullying, or, there are different branches off mental health, and then look at who's doing it well and who's succeeding, and think about your own experiences with new clubs starting. And did they start with a bang and then fizzle out? Did nobody show interest? Think about what works to get clubs started, and also learn from the ones that didn't succeed.
I know for me, we've had the COPES person come, and talk about suicide, but it was so disengaging. She wasn't like enthusiastic at all, so nobody wanted to learn from her. But the last time I had like any engaging education about mental health was like bullying in elementary school. And they were like puppets doing sketches, which was honestly quite entertaining, but I was also 10. So, but I know Bishop Kelly, I think I heard that there was a mental health thing, but I don't know how that runs. I don't know if people are engaged with it. And then when people start clubs at my school, at least, there's a lot of clubs because we have an activity period. So that's like dedicated to clubs. And you just have to get people to choose which one to go to. And I think the ones that have food and good shirts get a lot of people. So I don't want to say luring because that sounds misleading. However, to get people to come, you might have to have like cookies or something, at least for like the opening of it, and then fun games. But what are you guys reactions to that question? A good question too. I've seen a lot in the chat. I would come for cookies. The only reason people show up to Stuco is because of the shirts and the donuts and popular club. Yeah. People only show up to the meeting, like to meetings at certain clubs at my school because of the shirts and the food. So realistically with teens, it probably is really hard to engage them, but I think engaging them even on that topical level, getting them there to hear things would be good. What do you guys think? I want to hear your verses too. Sorry, I keep talking. Caleb, to answer your question, the prompt was like brainstorm. Like, what do you think would get people to come? Is there anything like this? Are there any successful things like this? Yeah, that kind of thing. Ali said prizes possibly. So like if there's games that people could win, incentives, tie this into economics, get incentives and people will be there. I see Ria said we need to get them there and then inform them on what our thing is. Yeah, so what are your guys' reactions?
Maybe also to give them opportunities to, I guess, a lot of people like volunteer hours are really important in high school. And like, they think a lot of people think it looks good on like college applications. And like, although maybe their motives aren't purely like to help other people, like I still think that like it'll help to give them opportunities that we know that they'll want or that they're seeking. I don't know, at least that's my perspective on like students at my school.
I like that idea because I know that a lot of people go to clubs to meet those graduation requirements, like volunteer hours. If they facilitate them well enough, then people show up. And I like that idea a lot. That's really helpful. Thank you, Kayla.
These are all really great ideas, guys. Like with teens, we just need to trap them once get them to come once. And if we're engaged, I know it sounds really bad, but it's a marketing strategy. You have to trap them once. That's what we did in Key Club. We like gave people food like the first time, and then people started coming, and then we were like, oh, you could get a scholarship. That's how you trap people, by the way. You tell them that they get money in some way or food, and they'll come. And then we're like, hey, look at all these opportunities. And that's how we trap people. So if we like continue to be engaging throughout our curriculum, we can get them to stay even once we like run out of giving people food. Like we don't have to bribe them every single time to be there, as long as we keep it engaging.
So with that being said, what if there's like some students who just want it for their resume and they like sign up and go to like one meeting or two and then stop going? Would there be like something we implement that would like kick them out like of the mental health club if they like stop going?
I have a lot of experience of people signing up for a club. Like I'm a president of a club at my school, and it's pretty small. It's volunteer based. And there's a lot of people that sign up and then don't continue with it. But I don't think kicking anybody out necessarily. But I know for mine, we offer like a cord for graduation, you know? So you'll meet like certain requirements, and if you don't get that. But you can still come, and we're still like super open to like everybody coming. But if you want to get like that incentive, you have to meet the requirements. But the incentive's not like mandatory to be a part of the club. Because I know that like a lot of people can't be a part of the club. So I don't want to exclude anybody that like wants to join but can't really be there all the time. Because being there once is better than being there no time.
So yeah, I do have thoughts on this. You guys are raising a lot of the reasons why clubs are difficult, just to be honest. Getting people there, kind of, you have to kind of trigger that extrinsic motivation. I want you to know we didn't have just one cohort. We've had two cohorts focus on this aspect, that volunteerism should not be a requirement, and how to really engage the spirit of volunteerism, that adults are teaching people the wrong lessons about volunteering. When you make it a requirement, you take the spirit out of it. And so for me, it's like, it weighs me down a little bit that people have to be cajoled to go to do things that are volunteering. So I decided early on, I never want to be part of events or do things that people don't, that I have to bribe people to come to. Like if YPI became a thing where we'd have to provide you with extrinsic motivators to come to YPI, we wouldn't want you to do it. And I want you to know, starting a club is something I speak from experience, because that's what YPI is. YPI is, we started it. Will people come? And what does it take to get it going and get it to stay? And I will tell you, it ain't easy. Every year I have to sing for the supper to get funded for a new cohort of YPI. Every single year. We've been doing this. We have a great track record. And yet every year we're still waiting for approval for the next cohort. So that kind of stuff, it gets really, it's something I want you all to consider, but without knowing that it's coming your way, I just don't want you to be surprised. It would take everybody's fan on three to pull this off. So I want you to know that wide-eyed, and that's what I think, Caleb. When I think about all this, you guys are talking already about the kinds of things you need to account for, and you haven't even talked about, you're talking about how do you get people to come? How do you get people to keep coming? How do you get schools to support it? How do you get the club to keep going after you all have gone on to the next phase of your lives? How many years does a school need to have that club going before it's going to be automatic and you don't have to be there to keep it going. So those things, be thinking about it. All right, that's all.
I like the point you raised, but I don't think we're stuck on volunteering necessarily, because I know that there's clubs at my school that like they offer, like they facilitate like ways to volunteer, but you don't have to do it. But I think it's important to know that there's going to be limitations. It can be really, really hard. But I think with our topic, anything we do really is going to be super hard. So I think it's important to be realistic, but also like know that like it's sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Somebody's doing something really strange outside, and I just yeah, just saying, like, I think we could do it in knowing that it's gonna be hard still, but I think any topic we're gonna choose is gonna be hard.
I'm not sure if this is similar to like what Adam was saying or not, but like I know you guys were just like brainstorming like ways to like get people involved, but I feel like all the things that you listed are kind of cons for the club idea because like in our purpose statement we said that this was like something people needed, and if we need to convince them to do it, then maybe they don't need it. And it just feels like we shouldn't be like coming up with ways at this point to like get people interested. We should be like working on like what we're trying to teach people and making that valuable so that people like really want to be engaged with it.
That's the key. That's called product market fit. And until you have it, you don't have a success. So if you build something that people really want, then you won't have to worry about bribing them to get there. So that's the right thinking. And I want to tell you, that is actually the true meaning of marketing. We think marketing is about the advertising of it. Marketing is the building of something that the market wants. Think about it. Marketing is finding out who's your market, what do they want, and how do I provide it?
Yeah, supply them with what they need before they know they need it.
I feel like we kind of hit a null in the conversation. And just keeping all of this in mind, I think this would all be great points to like bring up when we kind of pitch this idea of a club to see what the rest of the cohort thinks. But I think, Kate, Adam, if you're okay with this, I think this would be a good spot to end the meeting for today. Just a reminder, we don't have a meeting this Sunday. So we will see you not this Sunday, but the next Sunday. So see you in a week and have a great Easter if you celebrate.
And enjoy the weather.
Thank you for being here as well.
Yes,
I really
thank
appreciate
you.
your voices. Bye, guys.
I won't keep you. Do you want to talk about anything?
Honestly, I think it's just hoping that like the rest of the cohort's there for the next meeting. There was a lot of people gone today, so I have to check absence request forms to see if
Good. Yeah, let's do. By the time we meet next with for exec, if you all can take a look at attendance and just kind of see what issues that you want to talk with Emily and I about. Good job. I won't keep you. Just go have your weekend. I'll be around if you need me for anything though.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.